Hello, and welcome back to another Minecraft Let's Play video with me, Elven Dragon, here on SQUIDcraft, Liara's patron server. So it has been a few weeks, and during that time we have managed to gather up 23 honey blocks, which should hopefully be enough to build the 2 tree farms that I plan to build in, well, the general area behind me, I hope. And that is what we're going to be getting up to today, is building those. Now, I have never actually built a tree farm before, so this is going to be kind of interesting. And we're going to be building 2. One for every type of overworld wood except for dark oak, and one for nether trees. Fortunately, I have found tutorials for both. The overworld tree farm is designed by a writerish, and the nether tree farm is designed by Groovaguy. And I will have a link to both of their tutorials in the description. But before we can get started on building these, I need to go gather up a few more materials in order to construct these farms. So I'm going to go grab those, and then I will be right back. Alright, so after gathering up all of the materials that I'm going to need for these farms, I have determined that this space over here, which is where I was going to put one, and then we were going to probably have buildings connected with a bridge over this river. Unfortunately, this space over here is not going to be big enough for one of the farms, or at least not big enough for me to do with minimal terraforming. I think that if I keep it a reasonable distance from the road here so we can have a path, it more or less goes all the way out to the edge of the island. So instead, I have decided to move it to over here, where these 2 shulker boxes should be roughly the 2 spaces of the farm. And then we will put the other farm over there and probably have a river or something in the middle. Because I still do kind of want to have the idea of 2 connected towers, but these may not be the best farms to do that idea with. But we will figure that out once the farms are built. But before we get into building up these farms, there is one thing that I want to do, because during the time that we were away gathering up honey, the mini block pack got fixed. So I'm going to go grab my box that has those, and I will be back once we reach Spawn Town. Alright, so here we are back in Spawn Town, and we need a few things to put down. So I have gone and made up a box with all the different dyes that we are going to need. And I have my box of heads and mini blocks. So I think I'm going to do for the cushions here is we'll do shulker heads, because I think the tops kind of look like cushions, and because why not? I have tons of them. Now I need red dye, black dye, and whatever the -Y one is. So full sized, rotation, align, and -Y. So how we're going to do this is we will align those, make them full size. Oh, that's as big as they get. Okay, so we're not going to be using shulker heads, because at full size those aren't going to be big enough to work as the main couch cushions. Let me get out the purple wool. As I was saying, we're going to rotation align those, make them full sized, and now reduce those so that they are at a reasonable couch cushion height. I did not actually count how many that was. Oh well, I guess we'll have to rely on the pixel pattern of the blocks to do the other side. And there we go. Our couches have cushions now. If I really want to, I might find a wandering moth head and stick that on the thing as little pillows. But we can now sit on the cushions. Nice to have a working couch. So now that the couch cushions are in, there's only one more thing that we need to do for our house to make it complete. And that is to stick the Ravager head above our fireplace. Which, let's make that bigger. I guess that'll have to do. Let's see, I'm gonna need which direction is it? Plus X it looks like, if I want to center that over the fireplace. And because this is a head, we can align that. And we can also center it over the fire. Yeah, that looks good. Now the final bit of mini block shenanigans we need to do is we need to put chairs for our tables and cushions on the booths. I think the booths will do blue wool. What? Oh, well, that seems to be an issue. And I'm pretty sure that's going to affect us every time we try and place one. Yeah, let's put our pumpkin hat back on. I was not expecting them to decide to go on my head slot. Now we just need to move those down like we did for our couches, but one thing I want to say about is I want to put this pillager head as like a mug or something on here. So let's see, we want to rotate it, I want to say around the x-axis. And I believe that 4 should do it. Yep, there we go. Now we can put that die away. And now we need to lower it so it's on the table. But you know what? How small is this micro block? Yeah, that seems more reasonable for a mug. But let's see how it looks on the table. One more, I think. Yeah, I suppose it looks okay. The eyes are a little funky, but from this angle, I think it looks okay. So now we just need to get the chairs for the tables in. Now, I think for this, the shulker heads will work just fine. They have a pattern on their bottom. Ooh. So we could actually have pattern cushions for this. But I think the top texture is good. And there we go. That should be everything here that we need. Got cushions in the booths, got seats around the tables, and we have seats at the bar. I was gonna put some iron bars and make these into bar stools, but we have the small issue of that. And it won't exactly look at bar stool posts if they connect when I put them next to each other or right next to the bar. So unfortunately, that plan will not work. I think even without the bar stool look, I think that this looks just fine. And the heads are the right height for the bar. And I'm quite happy with how this has turned out. And so with the job tavern and our house fully finished with the mini blocks, I think it's about time we get started building those tree farms. And there we go. That is the multi-tree farm fully done. Right now we just have the scaffolding to get up. And it is fully functional unless we want to use acacia or oak. So if we flip that, and we'll just put in a solid block for now. You can see it gets pulled along and pushed out of the farm. Quite noisily though. And if we come down here, we can see that it has been pushed to right there. At least, well, kind of see, because I used Edstone to build this. And I just used it to test it. Anyway, but that is the main part of the redstone done. Now we just gotta get the systems in that will allow it to take care of acacia trees and to prevent jumbo-sized oaks from growing. And I'm gonna put my pumpkin hat back on because the Endermen were getting a little rough while I was trying to build that redstone. And I ended up popping about 2 totems just trying to get that done. And just like that, we have the rest of the farm built with the acacia and the oak settings. And if we go up here and avoid the angry Enderman, you can see that we've got 2 switches, one to turn on the acacia setting and one to turn on the oak setting. So if we look in here, well, we can't really look very well. If we flip that, we should be able to see, if we hop up there, that there is a slime block flying machine up there. We flip that back up. It should ascend. There we go. And that's about it. Let's get the dropper back in. There we go. And hopping back down here, you can see a bit more of the decoration that we've done with these 5 barrels here that hold our saplings. So we've got birch, acacia, jungle, oak, and spruce. Might put some item frames on those at some point, just so that we can see it better. Although I've specifically put the acacia saplings across from the acacia switch and the oak ones across from the oak switch. So let's test this farm. I tend to use a lot of spruce, so maybe that might be good. Though we can just as easily grow 2 tall ones. Let's do birch. I've been using that quite a bit in my base. So let's grab a sapling of that to test this out. Actually, let's get a few more, just to be safe. What we should see is put that there, turn on the farm, at that lever, and it should be... Should be bone mealing it more than that. Something might be broken. Well, I know I put bone meal in there and there's none in there. Let's check the redstone real quick. I don't see much. Yep, there's bone meal in there. Maybe it's not getting up to the top. And I can only transfer it up so fast. Let's try this again. Put that in there. And it only did it like once. Something must be wrong. Okay, redstone looks good, looks good. Thing there looks wrong. I'm gonna have to take a look at this and figure out why that's not working. Might be something off with one of the circuits. And I seem to have found the problem. So that comparator actually needs to be on subtract mode. So if we come back up here, we turn the farm on, we should see that grow and we get a large noise of distance. I should really probably actually turn off the block sounds. Let's see, make sure this works multiple times. And once more just for good measure. Now we should see saplings come back to us from the return. There we go, there's one. So this farm is working completely then. Excellent, let's turn that off because that is really loud. And we still got an okay amount of bone meal, but it uses quite a bit. And let's drain what's left in that dropper. So we can toss those back in there. And if we go down our scaffolding, or just jump down, and we can see the logs right over there. So there's still quite a bit before it starts pushing them out. So we still get a little ways to go before we can figure out just how big this farm is going to be once it's fully extended out all the logs. And we need to know that so we can build up the facade for this thing. Because I don't want logs pushing out the wall, so I'll have to build that to contain that. We will figure that bit out later. For now though, this farm is now done and it works quite well. But now all we need to do is get the nether tree farm built up. And there we go! There is the nether tree farm fully completed. So if we flip that up, and we can actually get rid of this extra scaffolding pillar here, and climb up here. We flip that down, that will turn on the farm. And now we can just place mushroom there, and it'll push it forward, and it will keep growing. Now, I did not build the giant piston array that is shown in the tutorial because I didn't think that we needed it, and it was mentioned that it was optional. So I think that this should be good enough. We do have to be careful not to overload this too much. So I think that'll be good. And let's turn the farm off for now. And as you can see, we have plenty of warped wood there with the few shroom lights, which will be nice. Some of my temporary blocks there at the top. And a decent amount of nether wart up there. So now what we need to do is we need to get some facades over these like we have with our other farms. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go for, I think it's a medieval theme. I've kind of marked out roughly where I want to put a bunch of buildings with some dark oak and dirt. Now I'm not quite sure if between the two farms here I want to do 4 buildings or just 2. I'm leaning towards 4, but the ones on the ends for the farms are going to be rather tall because we have to include those. And we have quite a bit of space below where we are collecting the trees. So I think we're going to use that to build some nice little decorative things. So I'm going to go get at least the first part of this built up, and then I will be right back. Alright, and one live stream later, and we have gotten quite a lot done. As you can see, we've got the frames for all of the buildings in. I might mess with the heights of some of the smaller buildings in the middle there. And you can see I've got areas marked out for the roof. I've got the first part of the overworld tree farm built up. If we go inside here, you should be able to see that we've got the walls all nice and built down for this first part. Still no floor, but that seems to be becoming a common theme. And if we go up here, you can see that we have no walls up here. Now what I think I'm going to do is we're going to use concrete powder because it's bright and I like the texture of it for this. As we apparently try to drop that on an enderman. And we're just going to fill up this section. I think I'm going to try to start with just this front area here, because I didn't make a whole lot of concrete powder because I wasn't quite sure how much I was going to need. Hopefully I have enough to finish this section. And 4 stacks of powder later, I think that gives you a rough idea of what I'm trying to go for here. Now, this isn't going to be solid concrete powder when I'm done. I'm going to probably try and mix in some fence post windows like we have in the bottom section. But for now, this is going to have to do. Now, you may be noticing that I went with purple for the walls instead of, say, white, which I think is more common for a medieval style house. And that's because, well, we've got a lot of fairly light and white builds out here. I figured we probably needed something with a bit more color. And since there's 6 buildings here, I figured, why not make them a rainbow, instead of having a bunch of buildings of all the same color? Now I've obviously got quite a bit more work to do on these. For example, the second part here doesn't have a roof marked out, and as you may have seen inside, there is no roof over most of this. But I am just about out of time for today, not to mention currently out of concrete powder. So I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and consider subscribing, and I will catch you all in the next one. Goodbye.